Welcome, welcome. Navigating now here. This is episode 145, and we have a special guest here, Azmin Gowa. You're going to get to hear from her in a little bit. I'll tell you this much. She has a lot to share. She started, a month ago?
It's been a little over 2 months.
What does it feel like?
Forever.
Forever. In the best way.
In the best way. Yeah.
Well, let's dive in.
Okay.
Azmin, tell me about you.
Awesome. So I'm really happy to be here. Hi, everyone. Wow, where do I start? So my name, Azmin.
Yep.
I have been here for over 2 months, and it honestly feels like a lot longer. And I think it's because I've been able to really just dive into the work. And you all have been so welcoming too. So I just feel like I'm a really great, valued part of the team.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say if I wanted you all to know one thing about me, it would be that I feel like at my core, I just really love to help people. And in particular, I feel like I've always been drawn to helping people make things very easy and simple. So I've always known that I wanted to help people. But I feel like growing up and in my career, I just never knew the how I wanted to help.
Mm-hmm.
And so that kind of took me down a couple different career paths, as you know. And, I always joke around with my friends that I'm probably the worst accountant that you'll ever meet, because my first career was actually in accounting, and it was a long journey. It took, the 4 years of university, the 2 years of the CPA. So it was a long haul. But, definitely, and I was good at it too.
Yeah.
So it's confusing when you're good at something, but you're like, my heart's not in it.
And you're a feeler. You're a lover.
I'm a feeler and a lover.
Yeah.
So thankfully I had my eureka moment pretty early on in that career, and was able to kind of pivot into more of the feeler lover type of field. And that's change management for me. So I've been in change for about 6 years now and loving it. And I'm really excited to be able to do change here at Thoughtium.
Yeah. Gosh, that was one. I just need to say I've never sat next to an accountant turned change.
Yes. How does it feel?
I have a lot of questions.
Okay.
A lot of it has to do with taxes. We'll leave that aside.
Yeah, no.
Still doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
And I want to unpack what you bring change-wise to our organization, because I know that was a hot topic as to why we wanted to bring you. But before that, would love to know, so you said 2 months you've been with Thoughtium, feels like forever in the best way. What were your first impressions when you came here? And maybe just impressions overall as you go through.
I would say that just the whole group, the whole team has been super intentional, super kind, and super intelligent. So you got the 3 levers right there. And I saw that from the get-go all the way to now. So when I thought about how I was being onboarded onto the team, I'm like, wow, they're very intentional in terms of how they're communicating with me. I really felt like the experience was geared towards me, like the candidate, versus sometimes other times you don't feel like you're being cared for, communicated to. So this was just probably the best onboarding experience I've been through. And then even after that, our training, I was really, now that I'm looking back, I realized that, we actually practice what we preach. So when I thought about all the training I've gone through, I'm like, okay, I have the LMS side, which is what we do here. Then we have the, peer-to-peer training, the on-the-job training. So it was so cool to see that what we bring to clients is also what we do internally. So that was also super intentional. And then just the day-to-day, I feel like we all treat each other as humans first, and we treat our clients as humans first. So it's really refreshing and cool to just see how the team interacts with each other, how they interact with our clients. So it's been a really, really great experience so far.
Oh, that gives me chills.
Yeah.
And we talked about this earlier. Yes, it's because the room is a little chilly today, but just what you shared, that sentiment, it gives me chills. Gosh, my question for you around that is, how do you see, because you say we bring people first, right? Where we think we see each other as individuals before professionals, which is so important. How do you see that playing into you feeling like you've been here for forever as opposed to just 2 months?
I feel like it's the little things. For me, it's always the little things, and it's how people make me feel, I would say, that really matter. So it's small things like how is your weekend, or like digging into what we all do and enjoy to do. So it's, for me, it's really just, I can sense that you are all really trying to get to know me as a person, and it's not like, hey Azmin, what can you do for us, or what can you do for Thoughtium, but more around like, who are you as a person and what pieces of that can you bring in. So I really feel like I can be my authentic, true self, and that however I show up is great. Yeah.
That makes me think, we always talk about the doing, right?
Yeah.
We're people, we like to get stuff done, tasks, all of it. And we do a lot of that, right? But there's also the human being element. Like we focus on you as a human being and what you bring beyond the, set aside the work. Let's talk about you as a person.
Yep.
On that note, let's talk about where you're coming from. Are you from Chicago?
No, definitely not.
She loves it though. She's getting.
I do love Chicago. I do love Chicago. But if you heard me say the word about at all, or if you hear the word a come up in this interview, you'll realize I'm actually from Canada.
You are?
I am.
Did you bring anything to show the group
I did, actually. So in a lot of our interviews, we bring something to bring us some comfort in these interviews. And I actually need to move a little bit to show you all my Edmonton Oilers socks.
How cute are these?
That I brought today.
I love it.
Thank you. Yeah. So a couple reasons why I wore these socks.
Yeah.
So first, yes, I'm from Canada. I'm from Edmonton. And we're big Oilers fans there. But also I was just thinking about like what kind of energy I wanted to bring into this conversation.
Love that.
And I thought about just 3 men in my life that I really admire. And so I'm kind of just using the socks to channel their energy. So the first is my husband. These are his socks. And I just find that when the energy he brings into every room that he walks into is just so positive and so contagious. And I wanted to bring that vibe. My brother is another person I wanted to kind of channel. And with him, I feel like he can just connect with anyone, like regardless of where they're from, how old they are, like he's just really able to connect. And that's what I wanted to do today as well, and just be relatable. And then my brother-in-law, he's actually the best change practitioner I know. And I feel like I followed in his steps in his career path. So I really look up to him.
Yeah.
So, and then they all love the Edmonton Oilers because, we're born and raised in Edmonton.
Yeah.
So bringing the 3 of them and the Oilers with me. So
quite a trifecta.
Yeah.
And you brought it full circle, full triangle, I guess.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yep. So if they're watching, hey guys.
Shout out to you 3 fine folks.
Shout out to you 3.
Oh, that's awesome. Gosh. Well, we keep change as a buzzword.
Yes.
As everyone can hear so far. So let's dive into it, shall we?
Yes.
If I could give you this headline and you take it where you want to.
Okay.
Change management as a hot take. What is yours?
Oh, wow. Okay. I'm probably going to split this into, for the sake of time, and I'm going to do 3. Let's do 3 hot takes today.
Great.
And we'll start with the word change management, I think. So my first hot take is just around the word manage. And
even when you said it, you kind of went
I know. I like to do that
too. I'm like, ooh, manage. Ooh.
I know. Yeah. I like to do that because I want people to feel that feeling of what it feels like to be managed. And as I've been bringing change into Thoughtium, I've been doing a lot more research and bringing, different pieces of content to the team. And that led me to just Googling, like, what does the word manage mean? Just for fun. I was like, what does Google say about manage? Yeah. And the definition was literally succeeding to survive or something. It was like succeeding in surviving or something like that. And I was like, oof, like that's to survive.
That's sad.
It's sad. And I think the sentence they gave along with that definition was Catherine managed to get 5 hours of sleep. And it was just so sad. I'm like, who wants to be Catherine? Like, who wants 5 hours of sleep? I want
not
my 8 hours. Yeah. So it was just a revelation to me that I feel like the word is just, it's an old word now. When you think about change, you want to actually thrive in change, not just survive. When you think of the word manage, you think about it's very passive. You feel like you're being controlled, or
I feel small.
You
when
feel
I hear manage,
small.
it's like, ooh, I got to be down here.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, you don't want that. You want to take whatever control you have. Sometimes it's a lot of control, sometimes it's a little, but nonetheless, you have control over your mindset, your thoughts, what you choose to take action on.
Preach, girl.
Exactly. So it's like, why use that old terminology when there's so much more out there? Like, you can lead in change, you can thrive in change. There's so much more out there, especially given the amount of change that's happening in the world. It's not start and stop anymore, where there's one change, it starts and then it stops, and then there's another change. It's not like that. So you have to kind of open up the terminology now and see it for what it is.
Yeah. And I'm hearing like a theme of proactivity.
Yes.
Right? Like change is the constant almost.
It is.
So how can we be proactive and have a growth mindset in that space?
Absolutely.
I love that. So how would you describe, because I know you have a background in change.
Yeah.
Do you see any like shift in the work that you're going to bring forward here? Like what you've learned to be, like what you learned as change management and how it's shaping and looking a bit different?
That's a great question. And that actually fits into my hot take number 2. So I'm just going to like flow.
Yeah, let's
flow in that direction.
Love that. All right. I see she's going somewhere with this.
Yeah,
she's going.
Because my hot take number 2 is that change comes in waves. And like you said, it's constant. It's not linear. So when I think of change, I think, you have to ride change. Change actually happens in waves. And when you think of waves, like, waves are fast, they're slow, they're high, they're low, they're so dynamic. And so is change right now. And so I definitely think that people need to see it in that way now, where change is happening all the time. And it's less of a process now, which is how some of the old methodologies describe it as.
With that like start, stop.
Exactly.
Sort of,
yeah. And it's more of like a mindset and a way of being, I think. And when I was, researching this whole waves of change thing, what a terminology that came up was the surfer's mentality. And what the surfer's mentality is surfers, in order to be a great surfer, you have to be able to practice, and you're gonna fall, you're gonna crash, and that's okay. But the what makes a good surfer is that they do practice and they persevere and they're persistent in their pursuit of being a good surfer. And I feel like the same goes for change, where it takes practice, it takes like a shift in mindset, and it takes time. But I feel like with that persistence, you'll be able to get to a point that as changes come to you, whether it's personal or organization related, you'll be able to ride those waves with more ease.
Yeah. And like respond as opposed to react.
Yes, exactly. It's all about that proactivity. And, to answer your question more fully, I think that's how Thoughtium approaches it, which is what I love, because there is reactive change management happening. And that's the reality of the world we live in. There are big transformations, and then people are outsourcing change to change practitioners or project managers. And that's a reality. But at the same time, how can we also be proactive so that as these big transformations come, people feel ready? And I think that's what we do here really well, is we're equipping people for when that change comes, whether it's happening now in the moment or later on. I feel like we're equipping leaders to just be ready
for whatever change comes next.
Yeah.
Oh, and to headline that, you're saying that it starts with our mindset, right? So whatever change is coming, they are equipped to respond.
Yep.
And we give them the skill set to do just that.
Exactly.
And we're going to do even more now with you in this space with us. So we're so excited.
I'm excited too.
Awesome. I love it. So that was hot take number 2.
It was hot take number 2.
Shall we go to 3?
We can round out.
Ride the wave into 3.
Ride the wave into 3.
Great.
I love it. And the third one actually really fits into the waves of change, right? Because change is so constant, because it's happening all the time. I feel like leading change should be a necessary part of a leader's job description. Especially when you think of what happened during COVID. We went from being in office to then being remote. Now we're hybrid. Like, that in itself was a huge change. We're all changing the way we're working. And I feel like leaders, should have the skill set to lead and change. And I use the word skill set on purpose because, I was an accountant. I didn't have these skills before. And what I'm trying to say is that these things can be learned. So it's really just a matter of, leaders investing in their people and giving them the opportunity to learn. But I definitely think it's a skill set that can be learned, and I feel like everyone should have it because it makes you just a better leader. Things that you learn when you're learning how to lead change is like how to communicate, how to tell stories, how to lead with empathy and authenticity. Like these are all components of what it means to be a good change leader.
And foundational, like beautiful building blocks as people, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
Exactly.
I love that. I love that so much. And what I'm hearing is like there's this space for outsourcing change that's still happening in some regard, but the ability to make leaders equipped to just manage it and build it within.
Yeah.
Because that outsourced change practitioner is not always going to be there.
Yeah. And we're in a world right now where there's so much change happening on top of each other. And it's a lot. So if you're outsourcing change, maybe you can for one project or one big transformation, but there's probably another transformation just around the corner. And does it make sense all the time? Sometimes maybe some companies can do that, but I do feel like it's a skill that can be learned. And it's a skill worth knowing as a leader.
And we'll help build that within your folks, starting with our listeners.
Yeah.
I love it. Great. So let's see. Because we could talk about change forever, couldn't we?
Yes, we can. Because for those who don't know, Nicole also is a change practitioner. Yes. And she loves the space too. So you've been actually a really good thought partner for me actually since joining. It's been good creating this work with you.
Oh, can we cheers our mics? I don't know if it's going to make a loud noise, but thank you. Well, how about, as we always do, go to a lightning round?
Let's do it.
Okay. My first question. So I've asked a few people this one. It just came to me over the weekend.
Oh.
And it is a conversation starter. So think about it first. Yep. Your first concert you've ever been to, your favorite concert, and your future upcoming concert.
Oh.
And if you don't have one, your most recent works too.
Can I just take a minute to talk about Alicia Keys?
Listeners, can we take a minute to talk about Alicia Keys? This is very present. It's just happened. Yeah.
It just happened. And I feel like I've been raving about it to the entire office.
And
so
I
feel like the entire world needs to know about this.
Yeah. Let's talk about it.
I feel like she's just as a person, when you think of leading with authenticity, I feel like she is just my number one gal for that. I feel like she's taken us along her life's journey. She's very open with like her own growth and development.
And she wrote a book. Is that right?
And she wrote a book. Yeah. And I really admire her as a human being. And obviously I love her music as well. She has an amazing voice. And I recently saw her this week. So Alicia Keys, hands down. Still kind of in that energy and in that mood. And
hairstyle. I feel like you're giving me very much of an Alicia Keys vibe. It looks lovely on you. You're welcome. So is it fair? Does she fit all those buckets? Was she your first concert?
She was not my first concert. I feel like NSYNC was probably, I'm trying to think back to my childhood, but I feel like it was probably NSYNC.
Yeah.
Which was great at the time, obviously.
Totally.
But I got to say Alicia Keys was my favorite.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you have any upcoming concerts?
Not yet, but
stay tuned.
Yeah, who knows? Chicago has a lot to offer. I feel like there's always music events
of all genres.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Awesome. Cool. Okay. Another question coming to mind that we love to ask everybody. If the world were more like Azmin, it would be blank.
And I know you guys always ask this question, so I was trying to think.
She loves to prepare. She's a planner. We love that.
I'm a planner.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, I'm like, what word should I use? I think compassionate.
I
think I really like to lean into how other people are feeling and try to make sure that they're doing okay. And I'm able to adapt my style based on that. And so I feel like compassionate would be my response today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. I always like to just sit with everybody's word and just like take it all in. Because compassion is that resonates. Not that you have to have my approval, but that resonates 110%.
Thanks.
You're welcome. How about any fun facts or things of interest you want our listeners to know about you?
Oh, fun facts.
Do you have any furry friends?
I do.
I set you up for that one.
I know. It's funny because I was leaning into the yoga space, but let's talk about both.
And then we'll go to yoga.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I have a furry friend. His name is Obi-Wan, and we call him Obi for short. He's 2. He's a mini Bernedoodle. I love him so much. So there's that.
Yeah.
And I would say the interesting thing I want people to know is I'm really starting to get into the whole wellness space when it comes to yoga, meditation, just books about, self-awareness and things like that.
Mhm.
So I'm just curious about how I can bring that into the work I do.
Mhm.
So I'm trying to figure out how I can combine my interests with work. And I feel like this is a great space to do that in, but it's kind of top of mind for me right now.
Yeah, totally. Gosh. So when I hear, did you say self-help? Because something around that space,
definitely.
Right? What book, if you could recommend one in that genre, what comes to mind that you want your listeners to hear and read?
There's a lot that come to mind. I'm trying to think of one that might resonate. Probably,
and maybe personal growth, like Let's Go Beyond Self-Help.
Yeah.
That has a funny connotation.
Yeah, I feel like Atomic Habits was a really good one.
Ooh, yep.
Because it's really practical. Like what you learn in the book, you feel like you can use like immediately after you put the book down, and it's really easy. So it's just a book about setting you up for success through habits.
And whatever habits may work for you, or are they very like structured? Everyone should have these habits, or is it personal?
It's personal.
Cool.
But there is enough of a structure that you're able to follow if you want to get better at a habit, or also like get rid of a bad habit. So there's enough structure in the book to teach you, how to do the work.
I love that.
Whatever that work is for you.
I love that.
Yeah.
I have that book on my bookshelf. I'm getting to it.
Yeah.
My next one is, and I should let you borrow this. You can get into the Chicago mindset.
Oh.
Devil in the White City. Takes us back to Chicago's World Fair.
Oh.
It's like a psychological thriller,
Nice.
I think. But it's a hot book in Chicago. I'll let you borrow it.
Thank you.
And I don't need to borrow your Atomic Habits because I have my copy. And it is crispy. It is clean and ready to be read. So, well, all right. This was wonderful.
Yeah, it was awesome. Thank you so much.
You are welcome. Thank you all for listening in. You just met Azmin Gowa, one of our newest senior consultants. We are so thrilled to have her here. It's been 2 months, but likewise, it feels like I've known you forever. Yeah. We'll keep the good vibes rolling. Thanks, everyone. See you next Thursday. Thoughtium.com/live.
Take care, everyone.